maybe everybody comes out of this film talking about the revelation that is Charlize Theron. What was it about her that you decided to cast her?
She was the only person who I ever thought about in the role. I'd seen her work. I'd seen her ability to take on a character, to transform in her work, and I came to see in the making of the film that she's incredibly rigorous. You have to be very, very careful when you're doing this stuff, particularly in those fight sequences. A lot of trust between the actors and the stunt performers, and we'd get everything in a very early take.
When it came to finding someone who I thought had the strength to not be afraid to not shy away from the fact that she was this incredibly volatile person who crossed the line and did these incredibly horrible things, yet could also sell the vulnerability and the humanity of this person, that's a very wide area to cover. And a lot of the actors I thought of, I was pretty sure could land in one way or the other. I was familiar with Charlize's work. I had been blown away by her every single time, her commitment and presence in every movie. And I see tremendous strength in Charlize. I see tremendous talent, and I see like this great heart and intimacy. So I believed at the core she had what was necessary, and then how the person looks is, you know, is second. You can get there. That will come. But not everybody can you send for 2 months into Aileen Wuornos' life and be sturdy enough to do it.
Actors kind of fall into two categories for me. There's human puppets who are like very good at puppeteering themselves, and if you can describe, I needed to come across like that, and they can puppeteer themselves to appear that way, and they can be very good at that, and I've worked with great actors who could do that. And then there's the other group that are actors who are lost in it, and they just actually feel what their character's feeling. And Charlize is, I think, one of two actors who I've ever met who's strangely both. She's 100% aware of everything that's happening around her, crew-wise, camera-wise, acting-wise, on set, in the scene, but simultaneously knows exactly how to get in touch and be vulnerable.
I mean, obviously the body stuff is amazing, and that her transforming and becoming, you know, a postpartum body, and the way it weighs her down, the way that her eyes go blah when she's staring at the television, just the sinkingness of it is so
I think that actually
good.
happened. I mean, now, she gets asked about the weight gain a lot, and the way she describes it is that it's the first time she really experienced depression, that eating all that food and this constant intake of sugar and not having a relationship with what her body is anymore, and waking herself up in the middle of the night to keep on eating salt and sugar to make sure that she can get her body in a short time to where it needs to be. Right after Atomic Blonde, by the way, it put her further into character. It put her deeper into, like, her just brain wasn't where it would normally have been.
But it
was amazing. I mean, I think a lot of people have been talking about her lack of vanity in this performance, which I think can be misconstrued to have anything to do with a weight gain or like an ability to let herself look and behave a certain way on camera. But the lack of vanity was like just being so the character without having any attendant like pyrotechnics to it. She just was this woman and didn't demand in her behavior or anything. She's just so unprecious about what she does. She's so good at what she does, and with such an intent that requires nobody else to be like, you're doing so great. Like, she's just a wonderful actress in her core.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Good, nice to see you. Cecil B. DeMille Award, that's a lot. That's a lot.
You know who was the first recipient of the Cecil B. DeMille Award?
No.
Cecil B. DeMille. That's what I was told anyway.
Sorry.
Good. Charlize is presenting it to you. She just came down and she was so excited, but she's a little nervous.
I met Charlize, I think she had been in one other film that had not yet come out. And she was literally the first audition that I had to try to cast a movie called That Thing You Do. And we all stumbled out of the room and just said, that lady is going somewhere. I have a feeling I'll be back presenting the Cecil B. DeMille Award to Charlize in another couple of years.
That'd be great. Yeah, and working with Charlize. You walk on set, Charlize, what goes through your head?
Man, it was mostly just up the pressure to make the movie really good, and like I really wanted to just not let her down, to be totally honest. We developed the movie for years and years and years together. She's a producer on the movie. She's a very active producer on the movie, and Mostly, I just really wanted to have like a good collaboration because I'm such a fan of hers. Yeah.
And did you have a crush on any of your babysitters?
No, my sister babysat for me, so no.
On that note,
exactly.
Matt.
Yeah, Matt Freehoff in Jason Reitman's Young Adult, written by Diablo Cody. And Charlize Theron, I mean, doing scenes with her, you know, this was the first movie that I really worked extensively with an acting coach, with a physical coach to get my messed up leg down. You know, he's got a messed up leg, because I've been a fan of Charlize's since 2 Days in the Valley. She's one of those actors that, you know, is such a chameleon and is so effortless. And I was like, oh, I better be on my game. She really put the lie to the whole method of that. You hear about actors that are like, I'm in character and I'm going to be in character on the scene. And she was in the scene when they yelled action. She would become Mavis, who Charlize is one of the sweetest people on the planet, and she plays such a hateful character in this movie. You cannot believe how jaw-droppingly hateful she is, and she would become that character, and then yell cut, and then she would just be Charlize again. So it was like, oh, that's what a real actor does. It's not this, hey, I gotta stay in character. That a bad actor has to do that. She could go in and out because she's a pro, and she's such a great actor.
Well, in working with Charlize, you were literally going toe to toe with one of the baddest action stars in the business. And I understand your first day on set was that fight scene?
Yes, ma'am. They threw me right into it. But I mean, I'm grateful for it. Like, of course, obviously, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what have I gotten myself into? But I think it was really essential for the relationship, that Charlize and I had to build that kind of mirrored Andy and Niall's relationship to kind of, start in that place and start in a place where even though, we're fighting against each other, we still have to support each other and look out for each other. And so I honestly think that was the best place for us to start.
Well, okay, so we've talked about you as Niall, but what was it like as Kiki, being like, I'm now going to be like play fighting with Charlize Theron?
I definitely.
I said, and it's not play fighting either. Y'all trained hard and seriously for this role.
Yeah, we did. And I mean, that was one of the blessings about it, is that we did get so much time to train. So at first, they were doing a lot of stuff with us individually, and then they brought us together. So we got to start, training together and experiencing what it was like to, kind of dance with this other person. But of course, me, Kiki, LAYNE, I'm just like, it's Charlize, who has been such an inspiration and so instrumental in terms of opening doors for women in this genre. So of course, being super grateful, but then also like, girl, if you actually hit her in the face, it's over.
Get fired on day one.
Exactly.
Well, okay, let's talk about that training for a second.
With Charlize as an action star, particularly because, like somebody said earlier, some of those sequences, when after you shoot Spyglass, I mean, that fight they have in the stairs is relentless. And I was flinching.
Oh, it's unbelievable. That fight is, I think it's the best fight I've ever watched. And you can put it up against things like Crouching Tiger and Touching Cloth and all of that. And for me, it's a very different style, and I think it's a matter of taste which you prefer. But for me, I prefer what Charlize did and what Dave did. I think, how do I feel about her as an action star? She's sacrificial, and she sacrificed her body. She was like one of those centre backs that you want in the Premiership that when managers say they want people putting their bodies on the line. She's like that, She hurt herself for this movie. She got cracked ribs. I think she still requires some kind of dental surgery. I think I might be making that up, but I think she is. She was a real warrior. And she's fighting big guys, and of course, all right, nobody's looking to swing for each other or really hurt each other. We're trying to do it in a way where nobody gets hurt, but you can't get flung down those stairs the way that she did in that scene that you're talking about without without it taking its toll. And by the way, we made this movie for not a lot of money, so you didn't have that kind of big budget schedule where you can afford to go, do you know what, I've pulled something in my back, I need to take a day off. We were working 6 days a week, and we were working crazy hours in -10 degrees in Budapest, and then latterly in Berlin, and she did not grumble. She was just there slogging away in the trenches. And I've worked with a few the big action people, do you know what I mean? And she's up there with the Hugh Jackmans and all of that.
Sounds like Charlize is the kind of actress who did have a lot of input with all the material, and especially with her very specific set of skills, because I watched a whole bunch of these featurettes, and she just seems very naturally talented at this kind of action and stunt work.
She is. Learning choreography, memorizing choreography, selling it, and then...
The memorizing is so hard. For John Wick 2, I did the stunt experience, and it wasn't necessarily selling the moves that I had a hard time with. It was just hitting the right marks and pointing the gun. And I'd be like pointing the gun this way, and someone behind me would be, you know, meaning to flip over.
Right, and it is a lot, like there are a lot of parallels with dance choreography, which I think her background in dance really helped her with this. And also just her commitment as an actress. A lot of the, you know, the high-level actors just, you know, they're there for a reason, and they give 110%, and they're diving into these characters, and they're doing the work that needs to be done. It's not so glamorous like the business as we think. You know, it's long hours, it's like driving to a crappy gym in Inglewood and being there for 4 hours and sweating with the stunt guys and, like, you know, doing it again the next day. So I'm sure there'll be a few people that feel pity on her, but at the same time, it's like people put in the work.
And just so I make sure I read the notes correctly, she was involved before you signed on, right?
Yep.
Okay, so how is it jumping into a film? Because like as a director, you want to be involved in the casting process. Was it a mentality where you're like, oh wow, I just lucked out, or oh, I hope she's capable of doing everything, before even knowing what she could do?
No, I mean, I was really excited about working with her as an actress, and sort of her, you know, what she brings just purely in her acting prowess. I always thought that the action, I mean, even at that point in the script, it was a little bit subdued. I always knew we could get there in any different incarnation. Like, there's many ways to approach action, so I was never worried about that. But it was really just sort of an opportunity, and like, wow, this is an Academy Award winner, and she's going to bring a lot to the table, and that's interesting for me as a genre filmmaker to work with, you know, an actress of her caliber.
Yeah, and I read